record. Hey, Latte.
Hey,
How you doing, buddy?
pretty good. Bored. That's it.
Dude, we just talked for like 15 minutes about how bored we were. Everybody wants to go back to school except for one person. I'm not going to blast Kamaria Bryant, but there's only literally one person who was like, oh, yeah, I dig being at home.
I should have just been homeschooled because this is just so much better. Like,
Nah.
Nah. Y'all don't miss me at all, really?
I do.
But like, I don't like the students for real.
No, not
So
the
my
student.
starting point is whatever these numbers are here. This is going to help immensely. Okay. The standard says I can just sketch the graph. This thing right here in red, that's the parent function. I used to call it the mother function, but too many people had said it sounded like something else. So, you know, when I'm talking and someone walks by my class and I keep calling it the mother function, somebody's like, what did you say? It's the parent function. All right. So what does a negative number out front do? It reflects it, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
fuck the X.
So out front, it reflects it across the x-axis. So I know it's going to reflect, so it's going to go down like this, and it's going to start at -2, -3, -2, -3. It's going to start right here, and it's going to go down like this. Now that 4 just means it's going to be thick like me, right? So it's going to be by a factor of 4. So whatever those numbers are, I'm going to multiply them by 4, okay? The standard just says I can sketch it and identify some things. This number right here is really important. That's the starting point. So as I move left to right, is this thing increasing or decreasing?
Decreasing.
Bigger or smaller? Are these Y values getting bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
Bro. As I move left,
Oh, wait.
right? As I move left to right, this thing is going down. Domain refers to the X values. So the domain, I'm going to take the starting point here, -2. That's my starting point. And the X values going this way go to positive infinity. Okay. The range I read from the bottom to the top. What's my bottom here?
The bottom is
Yeah, you have a big
-4.
bottom. No, it isn't. It keeps going. It goes down forever and ever, right? It's going down. So I start from negative infinity, and it goes all the way up to this value here.
-3.
Yep. Right? See how I use that starting point? It's in the domain and it's in the range. All right. Does this purple graph have a maximum or a minimum? Is this a top point or a bottom point?
Bottom.
Starts here, goes down like that. That's the top or the bottom?
No.
That's the top. So there's an absolute maximum at this point again. I use that point again. -2, -3, right? So that's the absolute maximum. In purple, that's the top of the graph, okay? So I use that starting point here. I used it in the domain. I used it in the range. I use it in the absolute maximum. And I also use it in the end behavior. One of my end behaviors is this point. So as I look this way on the graph, as I look point this way, I used to say negative infinity, but that's not here anymore. This is all the dead zone. This is like KJ's hair. There is none.
Oh, wow.
Different KJ, a different KJ, sorry. So that's the dead zone. So I look to that way. Now I'm going to look to the right. And when I look to the right, X goes to, and F of X goes to,
Negative
right? So
infinity.
it's going down. Right? That's all we have to do is to sketch it. All right? Can I clear that? Clear that.
Yeah.
You want to do another one that's a square root?
Yeah.
All right, let's do another one with the square root. So I know the parent function, and you don't have to write the parent function. You know, that's me just doing the most, right? You don't have to do the parent function every time, but it helps me because all I need to do is to sketch the graph. So I know my parent function looks like, sorry, my parent function goes like this, just to give me an idea. That's my parent function, right? And I know this is B in here. Well, so when B is negative, well, when A is negative, it reflected across the x-axis. What happens when this thing under there is negative?
Reflects off the Y.
It reflects off the y-axis. So I know this thing is going to go from here. The y-axis is this thing right here. So my graph is going to go like this, right? It's going to go like this. I'm going to flip it over. But if I were to find my starting point, that's where I'm going to start, the starting point. So this graph is going to go like this. Careful, you're drawing here. My starting point is going to be -1, 2, right?
Why is it -1?
Isn't that, don't I get that from this?
Oh, I get it.
Right? -1, 2. So I go to -1, 2, and my graph is going to start here. Now, if you want to know all these specific points in here, you can make a table. But again, the standard just says I can sketch it. So the red thing, I know it's going to go like this. It's going to start at -1, 2. Okay, that's what my graph looks like. Okay. That's the sketch of my graph. Let's see if we can answer some questions. So increasing or decreasing, I read that moving left to right.
Yes.
As I hop down the bunny trail here, what is my graph doing?
Decreasing.
It's decreasing. As I move left to right, this red graph is decreasing. The domain refers to the x values. I start over here at, what's my x value to the left?
-2.
-2.
-infinity,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because it keeps going that way. So I start at -infinity. And my x value, it stops at
-1.
Okay. My range is my y values, and I read from bottom to top. Bottom to top, bottom to top. So what's the bottom here? What's my y value at the bottom?
2.
It's 2, right? I get that from my starting point. And y value is going up, so it's going to positive infinity.
Infinity.
Yes, sir. So this red dot right here, is that the top or the bottom? Is that a maximum or a minimum?
No, minimum.
Minimum, yep. So I have a minimum, and that minimum also is my starting point. Right? See how I use that starting point? I use it there. I use it in the domain. I use it in the range. I use it as the absolute minimum. I also use it as one of the end behaviors. Okay. So I did it going this way. So what's the end behavior going to the left? What's x go to when I go to the left?
No, negative infinity.
Right there in the domain, negative infinity. And what's f of x, my y go to?
Positive.
Positive. Okay. So once I set it up, all these things are filled in from this starting point and domain. Do you see the tie-in? Yes, super?
Yep.
Yes.
I drink way too much coffee when I'm at home.
Well,
Da-da, da-da, da-da. All right. Shall I move on, or do you guys had enough?
One more. And
I've
that's
had
it.
enough.
Okay, I appreciate that. Don't go away because I'm going to do a cubic one now.
Okay.
So the difference in the above one and this one, these are cubic roots. So the parent function of this one is the little skinny s, right? That's the skinny s. And when I have negative out front, what does the negative out front do? It's the same thing as the
Reflect off the x-axis.
reflects across the x-axis. What's my starting point? I get that starting point.
-1.
Bro, x is lie. That's why she's your x.
So it's 1.
Positive.
So at 1, 3, I have what's called a turning point. We'll call it the starting point also for this. So my graph is flipped over. It's going to look something like this. And it goes down through here. Again, the standard just says we can sketch it. If you really want to know all the points, you can go into your calculator and do table function or pick a bunch of values. The standard just says that I can sketch it and answer the questions. As I move left to right, is this increasing or decreasing?
Decreasing.
It's decreasing. All my, it's going down to the right, so it decreases. The domain, what x values work? Are there any excluded?
Mm,
No, because it keeps going forever and ever in both directions. This is negative infinity to positive infinity. I'm just being lazy and writing all real numbers. You know that's negative infinity to positive infinity.
yeah.
Is there a top or bottom to this?
No.
No.
There is
That's none.
And to answer those questions, which way do you want to look first? You want to look to the right or the left?
The left.
Left.
Okay, I'm going to look to the left. And what does x go to when I look to the left? What's x to the left?
Negative infinity.
Negative infinity. What's my y doing?
Going positive.
Yeah, it's going up, right? This value is smaller. It keeps getting bigger. Marginally bigger, but it keeps getting bigger. Now let's look to the right. Well, I look to negative infinity. This one goes to positive infinity. What's f of x doing now?
Going positive.
Going down. Goes to negative infinity. Okay?
Okay.
I bet we can do this real quick here. What's my starting point?
-2, 4.
-2,
-4.
-4. -2, -4 is my turning point, right? So I have this negative in here. So it reflects across the y-axis. But interesting thing, reflecting across the x-axis and the y-axis, for cubics, the same thing happens. So I'm going to take the parent function, I'm going to reflect it across the y-axis, which means it's going to look like this. Increasing or decreasing?
Decreasing.
And these are always going to be, the domain range are always going to be all real numbers. And it has no maximum or minimum. Whoa. These end behaviors are the same. All right.
Yes.
Questions? Again, so the standard just says that you're able to sketch it. If you're Kamaria, if you want to know the actual values, you pick an X value in here and you plug it in and get a value. Our TI-36X Pros will do that too. If you want to see more of that, you can go to desmos.com if you want the specific values of them. but you don't need to do that. Any questions?
No.
No.
Y'all are good.
Yep.
All right. Hey, Kaylin. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys immensely. If you read the blog, I just wanted a check-in with everybody. I'm expecting a bunch of emails, text, whatever, just so I know that you're all right. All right. I love you all. Have a safe weekend. Enjoy the day. Treat yourself. Do something fun. Just sit there and go crazy. All right, man.
All
I'll
right.
see you guys. I'll see you guys on Monday.